Tune in, tune in, tune in. The Black Hat Party has presented the Real Talk Show, where we talk about friendship, love, and purpose. Coming soon will be your host, JRX36, on another edition of the Late Night Real Talk Show, where we start at midnight instead of 11 p.m. Eastern. So let's see. He has been getting ready a few minutes ago, and he should be here soon. Okay, 37% is going to try soon. So you got everything set up here. The keyboard, the mouse, the mic, the binder, and a big jar of water. We should be almost done at this point. So let's just get everything ready here. What's that? Oh, that's bright. All right, he is here. Welcome to the Zoom featuring and presenting JLX36.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, this is recording.
Jay.
Wait.
Oh. Was this yesterday?
No,
What happened to yesterday's?
I haven't uploaded yet.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and pick another one. Let's just go ahead and pick another one. I thought you upload these everything. I like to see them uploaded everything. Okay, I thought you was doing that everything. I don't know why I don't know why it wasn't done everything. All right, well, today we'll do a different show. All right. So on yesterday we talked about resistance, momentum, force, flow, leadership, etc. Etc. Right.
Go ahead and have it uploading the background.
Okay. That's one from yesterday.
Yes.
I put the date. Yeah. Thank you, buddy. I wish y'all could see how fast this man moves. This man moves fast. right, so about to talk about a little bit about everything. We'll talk about force, we'll talk about flow, leadership, etc., etc. I want to break down this decision tree, this flow chart. Essentially, this flow chart is designed to help individuals and or parents and or leaders be able to better work with their followers, their constituents, the individuals that they work with, maximize their time, be able to save time. So the idea is that if you have free time, what are you going to do? If you're bored, you have free time, are you going to move towards anxiety? Are you going to move towards flow? Are you going to move towards worry, or are you going to move towards confidence? Are you going to move towards apathy, or are you going to move towards relaxation? When you're bored, what will you do? When you have time to consume, what will you do? So if you have time to consume, if you have time, what will you do? Are you going to entertain yourself, or are you going to edutain yourself? Entertain, meaning you're going to just watch things for the pure sake of enjoyment. Edutain, meaning you're selecting content that could be educational while also entertaining at the same time. And today we're not going to focus on what you do if you are entertaining or edutaining yourself. We're not going to focus time on if you have work to do. We'll focus that on another day. But if you have time, you have either work to do, a project, and on tomorrow or on another day, we can go through a list of projects that one could work on when they have time to work, or you have time to practice, or create. So we'll focus a little bit on that. So if you have time to practice, you have time to create, what will you create? And with whom will you practice? Solo, one-on-one, or group? Those are the options. Are you going to do things alone? You're going to do things one-on-one? Or you're going to do things in a group? And if you have time, Jaden, can you turn that air off, please? So if you have time, you could focus on arts and crafts, dance, gaming, acting, fashion, voice, athletics, mixed martial arts, streaming, social media, apps, electronics, and technology. And I'm sure there are more categories categories of things that one can do. There's additional hobbies you can throw in there. There are things you could do. But those are essentially... Oh, Jaden, have you seen my necklace? Couldn't find my necklace yesterday, and I'm looking. Where's my light necklace? Oh, no, I don't know where my necklace is at. Why they messing with my necklace? We just want my necklace. Where's it at? Where's it at? All right. So what I do want to focus on today is, what do you do when you have time to contemplate or time to visualize? And we're going to just kind of go down that. So if you got time to contemplate, you could contemplate alone. You can contemplate one-on-one. You can contemplate in a group. It is February 26th in the year 2000, in the so-called year 2021, 12 a.m. I just am getting up off of a nap, which is why you can see me groggy. And we're talking about contemplation. Yes, you can do it alone, you can do it one-on-one, you can do it in a group. So the idea behind contemplation, when you're going to contemplate, we're thinking or contemplating relationships with people, relationships with family, friends, and foe. When I think family, I think about family, and there's a space for, family that's not blood related, but it's intimate. So like an intimate partner, someone that you're attempting to make family, whether intentionally or unintentionally, someone you're dating, someone you're courting. And when we're thinking about contemplation, these are the subcategories that we're thinking about as it relates to relationships. So we got family, we got friends, and we got foes. Those are different types of relationships. Family being, what they would call blood related, kin. We got friends, and we have foes. And sometimes family and or friends can become foes. Under these types of relationships, we have followership, and we've been discussing in some detail what it means to be a follower. We got what they call as a yes person. The yes person is the individual that follows. It's an active follower. Doesn't critically think, but it's an active follower. You got what they call. I don't know that I want to continue referring to people as sheep. Sheep is the common term of individuals that are following, that are not critical thinkers and that are inactive. Maybe not the best term. But I have to think about what's another term that has been used for the sheep. So sheep are just the inactive, non-critical thinking followers. And that's probably the better way to say it. The inactive, non-critical thinking followers. You have those individuals. You have the inactive, critically thinking followers. And they have a name, don't have to even go there. It's sometimes called the alienated, follower. And you got your stars, your exemplary followers, those that are critical thinkers and active. Those are 4 types of followers. And you have a 5th follower who's the pragmatist, the practical, the realist follower. More specifically, the pragmatist follower. The follower that has some critical thinking, some activity, and are actively working the vision of the leader. Just below fellowship, we have identity. When I think of identity, I'm thinking of a couple of things. Initially, I'm trying to identify what kind of follower it is that, or what kind of individual it is that we are in relationship to. Whether it's family, friend, or foe. But when it comes to identity, is who am I? And it's self-defined. I am gifted. I am talented. I am ordinary. I am rejected. So those are just the first 4 basics I ams. And there's more I ams. I don't want to limit individuals to who they self-define as, but I'm speaking on identity as it relates to this chart, as it relates to contemplation when it comes to relationship. And we're referring to a family member. Is that family member a gifted individual, talented individual? And why does it matter? It's just the beginning of identity. Is this gifted person, does that person have initiative? You know, and we'll get that when we get to leadership, or the visualization aspect. But when identity is who am I, and under who am I, I'm thinking about what they call our personality types. And I don't necessarily want to call it a personality type, but I want to break down those sub components of what personality types seek to identify. So, for instance, you know, you have some of these. You get the big five, so the extroversion, conscientiousness, openness, um, and neuroticism. You got, and then on the Myers-Briggs, you got the introvert versus extrovert. You got the thinking versus feeling, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes to identity, it's where one can seek to answer the who am I, and I'm not here to tell anyone who they are, or pretend that the I am is something that's fixed, you know, and it could be fixed, but it could also be elastic. Many have found that identity can, or specifically personality types, can change over time, as one gains experience or is exposed to a variety of activities or experiences. One's that self-definition can change. But if you're in a state of contemplation, you know, there may be a space to discuss the concept of identity. Who am I? You know, and then under identity, I'm thinking about ethics. When I think about ethics, I'm thinking about ethical decision-making approach. You know, are you a consequentialist? Are you a non-consequentialist? Are you a virtual ethicist? And this can be useful in creating boxes for family, friends, and foes in an effort to better understand. I mean, all these concepts can help one better understand the family, friend, the foe. And when I say help, I mean be more compassionate, be more practical in the relationship, you know, to be able to assume or directly ask or interview the family, friend, the foe, in effort to seek to better understand them. You can seek to answer these questions. So it's like, what kind of follower are they? Are they a follower? Are they a leader? If they're a follower, what kind of follower are they? You know, and then when it comes to their person identity, how would they answer, who am I? How would they answer, why do I do what I do when it comes to ethics? And then we got mindset. Do they have a growth mindset? Do they have a fixed mindset? Do they have an asset mindset? Do they have a deficit mindset? You know, are they positive? Are they optimists? You know, are they pessimists? Are they negative? Are they neutral? And these are just words. There's many other words you can substitute. But the idea is, what's the mindset? You know, what's the attitude? What's the attitude? You know, so we have, you know, zeroed in on their identity, zeroed in on their ethics, zeroing in on their mindset, you know, and then what's their character sets? Have they identified a character set, or what's your character set? you know, in the process of getting to know someone, what are their character sets? When I think about character sets, I'm thinking about a couple, two or more character traits that one seeks to embody and make part of one's character. One's character includes one's identity, ethics, and mindset. So, you know, like for me, I seek to be temperate. You know, I seek to be honest. I seek to be courageous. Seek that can be a character set. I seek to be tolerant. I seek to be humble. I seek to be compassionate. That could be another character set. And then so we have these character sets that we could choose to identify with. What character set do you identify with? You know, you can choose two or more character traits that can make up your character set. And then now that you have this framework for understanding yourself and others, and you can zero in, and you can focus in on these aspects of one's expressions, you know, how they follow, how they work within an organization, you know, where do they fall on this active, inactive, critical thinking, not critical thinking graph? Like where do they fall? Who are they? Why do they do what they do? And what's their attitude and their chosen set of character traits? Then we can talk about dating. You know, like what is the purpose of dating? Are you dating with the intention to bring about an offspring? Let's get some air up in here. Let's get some air up in here. It's like a full moon. It's a full moon tonight. So talk about dating. So what's the intention behind dating? You know, is it to have a baby? Is it for companionship? What's the purpose? And is are you interested in a partner that is easy, or one that is difficult? I don't think that one should just necessarily seek to be with a partner that's easy. One can consciously choose to be with a partner that is difficult. Now, I can say that for me, that's not a choice that I've wanted to do, but I could definitely appreciate being in a difficult or challenging relationship. And what makes it challenging, I think that's compatibility. If you do not feel compatible, then that can bring about a dis-ease. So what's your tolerance for incompatibility? Do you have a high tolerance for incompatibility? You know, are you in a space where you would like to grow, thus being in a incompatible relationship where you may feel triggered? Because when dating, when parenting, when in business, when in relationship, when resistance is experienced, it takes the form of a trigger, of a stimuli that moves one's inner waters, that causes changes in one's frequency and vibration. that causes one to respond, and how one responds then is a reflection of one's character set and mindset and ethics and identity. So that's how it's all related. So who do we go? Who do we date? Who, who, and why do we practice the parenting style that we utilize when we're parenting? When you're parenting, you're going to be passive. You're going to be aggressive. And maybe passive and aggressive maybe are not necessarily the best terms to use. Are you going to use force? And when in the way that you exercise a force, are you seeking to be in an anxious state? Are you seeking to be in a flow state? And that applies to dating, parenting, and business. And then that moves us to visualization. So when it comes to contemplation, I'm generally thinking, being thoughtful about the relationships in one's life, relationship with family, friends, and foe. And I'm thinking I'm thinking about contemplation is like a look at an individual right now and before. So right now and before, this individual has expressed himself in this and that way. And I have expressed myself in this and that way as it relates to that individual. And then I'm contemplating. I can do that alone. I can do that in a one-on-one. I can do that in a group. The next category is visualization. So I'm thinking about right now and to the future. So I seek to manifest. I seek to experience, and manifest is probably not the best word because we're talking more about visualizing what already is, and it's like that's like a muscle that can be exercised. And you could do that alone. You can do that one-on-one. You can do it in a group. And I'm thinking about, you have finances. That's a thing. There's currency, money, and things that have a value. So you have goals around finances. You got fantasies and fantasies. I'm thinking about experiences that you want to have, adventures. So you have the resources that you need so that you can have the adventures that you want. And then there are these fears that interrupt one's pursuit of the fantasies and the acquisition of finances to make it happen. Boom. And then under that, we got leadership, we got process, we got time and space, power and privilege, we got SSS expectations. I mean, that's survival expectations, social expectations, and soul expectations. We got control and correction. We got risk and reward. And so now, what does it mean to be in leadership? So for me, what it means to be in leadership is to be thinking about the relationships that you have, to contemplate on family, friends, and foe as it relates to the pursuits of a particular shared goal. So you have these individuals that you're managing, that you're responsible over, that are counting on you, that are dependent on you for support or for some reason. So, and then when I think about leadership, I said, what's going to be your leadership style? Are you conscious of who your followers are? And that's more contemplation now. Are you conscious of who you are as a leader? And then when I think about who you are as a leader, it's that you're going to be a leader that's in flow state, or a leader that's in anxious state, or a leader that's in worry state, a leader that is confident. And then once you can identify the type of leadership or leader that you'd like to express, then you can break it down into the process. So the idea is like the process. Do you want it to be easy, medium, difficult? There's no right answer, but I'd say that you want ease, right? So if you want ease and you want flow, but you may not have the skill and or the experience to have ease. So you may need to go through some degree of anxiety or worry in an effort to reach ease. And in the beginning, generally speaking, there's going to always be that state or that period of time in which in one state may be more leaning towards the anxious state versus the flow state. But as you acquire skills and you acquire experiences and you build momentum, you move towards ease. Now, if you are able to develop some level of confidence that you got based on previous successes, then you can translate those learnings into this new category or this new role that you may be exercising. And then that's where the concept of time and space comes in. So on whose time are you on? Are you on your time? Or are you on somebody else's time? If you're on your time, then I think it's easier to be on infinite time or eternal time or Eonetian time. Eonetian time meaning there's no time. So when there's no time, then it's easier to experience ease because there is no need to put no external. There's no need to put no external pressure. So when I'm thinking about time and space, I'm thinking about pressure. Do you have time pressure? Do you have any space pressure? And depending on that, then you can see whether you're gonna exercise force, and to the degree that you minimize your exertion of force or coercion or the application of force, and it creates a pressure, then you could be in flow state. Thinking about power and privilege. When I think about power, I'm thinking about wealth, I'm thinking about intelligence, I'm thinking about initiative, I'm thinking about sexual attraction, I'm thinking about emotional intelligence. So when I think about wealth, I think about wealth as a source of power, because in the current system, the wealthier you are, the more you could use your resources to build a team of individuals that can work for your interests. When I think about intelligence, I think that the more intelligent you are, the more resources you could use towards it's something you can trade. You can trade your knowledge, you can trade with your intelligence for time. Like you can trade your wealth for time, you can trade your intelligence for time. And time is money. So you can change your wealth for money, more money. So because you can buy time, you can buy other people's time. When you have some knowledge, you can you can get people to pay you for more time, the time that it took you to acquire this knowledge, and then to facilitate the transfer of that knowledge, generates an income. Initiative. Initiative is a resource because it's a skill to be able to start things, to have the discipline to start things without actually having experienced the thing. It's kind of like that faith, it's like being able to see something and then work towards it. In the beginning, that's a challenge, that requires force for a lot of people. And by force, I don't necessarily mean negative force. I'm just saying just basic force, or it takes movement that in the beginning can feel like you're apathetic or there may be some worry, but you could also be relaxed and you can be confident. So that's we're talking about power. And then you have sexual attraction. Sexual attraction is a source of power because out of sexual attraction you create a level of attention, and this attention can buy you time. And everything's about buying time. We're buying, we're time traders. Let's just call it what it is. When you're in leadership, when you're visualizing, when you're contemplating, it's about time. We're saving time. We got time to create indoor practice. We got time to contemplate. We got time to visualize. We got time to work. We got time to consume. We got time to meditate / rest, reset. Talk about power and privilege. We talked about leadership. We talked about process. We talked about time and space. We talk a little bit about power, and then it goes into privilege. So then what are the privileged states? And this is where we can go into collective identities as a source of power. So when I think of collective identities, I think collective identities around these basic groups. You got gender identity, gender privilege. You got race privilege. You got age privilege. You got class privilege. You have ethnic privilege. And privilege is another way of saying advantage. And I believe that there's an advantage. Everyone has advantages that one can hone in, that one can zero in, that one can identify, that one can choose to exercise. One can choose to exercise these particular privileges in an effort to create some sort of narrative, cultural narrative or social narrative. And these are sources of privilege. And then one can identify with these sources of privilege and power in effort to build one's mindset, in an effort to shape one's mindset, whether one's going to choose to have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Generally speaking, that can be correlated with one's perception of their position when it comes to power and or privilege. And one can begin to shape one's attitude about that by being able to identify the area that one has personal power in, and the areas in which one has some personal privilege or advantages. Then we got SSS expectations. So these are, survival expectations. So what do you expect? What do you expect when it comes to food, shelter, transportation, clothing, tools, technology? You have high expectations, low expectations, no expectations. So then based on your expectations, then it can be correlated with your attitude, with your mindset. Are you satisfied? Are you content? Or do you have worry? Do you have anxiety? Are you in a flow state when it comes to your expectations? And to the degree that your expectations are being met, then you're going to be in a flow state versus being in an anxious state. And the idea behind the SSX expectations is that to the degree that you're able to have your survival expectations met, then it puts you in a better position to have your social expectations met. And when I think of social expectations, I'm thinking about those relationships with family, friends, and foes, based on how they self-identify individually and within a group. And within a group, I'm calling that followership. And then personally, within how they choose to make decisions, like what are their ethics? What is their mindset? What is your ethics? What is your mindset? Who are you? Who are they? To the degree you know yourself, to that degree you'll know others. And that's where the idea of contemplation and visualization comes in. It puts you in a position to have some knowledge of self. And it's not saying that this is a fixed knowledge of self and that you're not, we are programmable beings. We are, we have choice as to how we express ourselves. Now, there are tendencies that some may say are hardwired. I'm not going to go that far because I think that it's elastic. You know, we are subject to change, subject to growth. Now, some can choose to have a mindset where they're not subject to change or grow, and that's not necessarily a bad choice or a bad perception. It's a perception slash perspective. And I can respect all perspectives because everybody gets the consequences of what they believe. So if that's what you believe, then so be it, and you'll get your consequences. And if you're happy with your consequences, great. If you're not happy, great. It's an opportunity for you to decide whether you want to be in a state where you're not happy with what you're getting. And then you can make a choice as to what you could do about it so that you can experience that which you desire to experience. I personally seek to experience ease and joy, fulfillment. But there's a place to want to experience the opposite of that. There's a place for that. And who am I to impose my desires on other people's desires? But I do seek to create distance between myself and suffering. And that's why I want to save time. And for me to save time is for me to work on this project, work on projects that allow me to be in the right place at the right time, to allow me to feel fulfilled in my creative endeavors, allow me to be in a flow state, versus an anxious state. And when to be in a flow state, we have to be at ease, or we have to have some clarity when it comes to our family, friends, and foe. And then when I say have to, I don't want to necessarily say have to, but there's a place for having clarity with family, friends, and foe. There's a place for having clarity in how one is going to execute one's finances, fantasies, and overcome one's fears. And then under these categories of finances, fantasies, and fears, we have mentioned, we have leadership, process, time, space, power, and privilege, SSS, expectations, and now we're talking about control and correction. When I think of control and correction, I'm thinking about how one uses one's power and privilege over family, friends, and foe in effort to accomplish one's financial or fantasies, financial goals, or one's fantasies, or one's desires. And by fantasy doesn't have to necessarily be fairy tale fantasies. It's just one's goals, one's desires, and one can choose to have a variety of type of fantasies or goals. Like you have fantasies with your intimate partner, fantasies when it comes to your family, friends, and foe. And then, so these are basically goals. These are destinations. And then in one's pursuit of these destinations, uh, one has to have some sort of answer for how one is going to be, one's attitudes about control and correction. Are you going to have any control over others? Do you seek to control others? Do you seek to govern yourself, control yourself, have self-restraint, be temperate? And when it comes to correction, is in how do you seek to correct others when they are opposing you? Are you going to be direct or indirect? Are you going to be forceful, or are you going to practice flow? I'm not going to say there's a right or wrong. It's what you choose, and you get the consequences of your choice. I'm not necessarily interested in labeling it, that you can self-label, that. But when I think of correction, I'm thinking about consequences. So how do you give consequences? In my opinion, the ultimate consequence is separation. You create distance. Then you can have reparation. You can seek to have someone repair that which they may have broken, or that which they may have damaged. So then those are forms of reparation. So you got separation, and you got reparation. And there are more, but these are the big categories of correction. And then control is thinking about authority, like who has given you permission for you to exercise control over them. By default, parents slash guardians have control over those younger individuals who are in their care. So who's in your care? Who's under your leadership? Who are you managing? And to the degree that you manage them, you may have some control over them. And then when I think of control, I think about you may be responsible for lighting the path that they walk. When I think about lighting the path they walk, is be in a position to speak to their future by bringing attention to those areas and are that are contemplation, to be able to help them contemplate, to help them visualize, so that they're able to see the path that they're walking. And then a person can give you control over being able to shine that spotlight, and that's something that's earned, and that's leadership. That's when you've earned someone's leadership. And you got risk and reward. When I think about risk and reward, think about it's an attitude, it's a mindset. It's the weighing of options, because one can find themselves at a crossroad at every moment. It's like you're at a crossroad. You're at a crossroad, right? Where are you on this crossroad? You can go left, you can go right, you can go back, you can go forth. You can go up, you can get down. So when you're in this crossroad, your next decision is going to be based on some risk reward, or can be made based on some risk reward analysis. What are you risking? When you're risking time, you're risking space, which is a material way of seeing time and space. Is called currency. It's money. So you risk your time, you risk your space for the reward, the physical reward called money that can then be used to purchase experiences. But you could also risk cash for experiences. And then these rewards are, then kind of become incentives. So you risk your time and space, your freedom, in order for some reward. And ideally, you get to choose that by being conscious of how you manage your finances, how you go about bringing about your fantasies, and how you face your fears. That's where risk and reward come in. So what are you risking? What are you sacrificing for the reward that you seek to gain from it? And that reward is a reflection of those fantasies that you've had. But if you haven't visualized it, then you can find yourself in a inactive, uncritical space. Not critically thinking, and inactive, which means apathetic, which can put you in the category of depression and these negative words, versus flow, which is joy, focus, contentment, confidence. And based on your clarity as to what you're risking and what's your reward, then it puts you in a position where then you can more consciously seek out to fulfill your desires, your fantasies. And it's being conscious of walking that thin line, because every time that you have a fantasy, you may create an expectation. And it's important to know, is this a survival expectation? Is it a social expectation? Is it a soul expectation? And what are you creating when you're creating these expectations? Because you can be setting yourself up for disappointment if you have a mindset that sets you up for disappointment. So it's important to have that mindset that can set you up for success, yet still be able to pursue these goals, to live in the flow, you know. Leave it at that. That's that. JJ, you up? All right, you can come close this out, please. So that's that. Tomorrow or the next time we could focus on what it is that you could do when you're working. So that was about contemplation, visualization, and
Tonight.
get close.
The Black Hair Party has presented the Real World Talk Show, where we talk about friendship, love, and purpose. That was your host, JRX36. No one else was here this time, but we will see you tomorrow night again at either 11 p.m. Eastern or 12 a.m. Eastern on the next day, technically. We will see you then. Take care now. Bye-bye.